Hi, my name is Tim Erickson. I'm St. Paul Tim on the internet, places like Twitter, backdropcms.org, and Drupal.org. And I'm here today to talk about the module Configurable Block Style. This is a module for Backdrop CMS. Backdrop CMS is what we use at Simplo to help people get started. We provide hosting, tutorial, and supports, particularly folks who want to kind of build a complicated site but need a little bit of help. And let's start out here with our demonstration on the Configurable Block Style module page at backdropcms.org. This is where you can download the module if you're working on your own outside of Simplo. Or you can also download and install modules through the Backdrop UI depending upon your server configuration and how it's set up. I'll show you that in a second. So if you are a Simplo user, your site might start out looking something like this. If you're a brand new user to working on your own installation of Backdrop, your site is probably going to look a little bit more like this. And there is an option again to install new modules in the UI, the user interface. If you click on this, you can search for configure. There we go. So we did a search for configurable, and here we can find the module, and you could install it this way. We have actually already installed the module, and I believe we've enabled it. Let's go to list modules. So functionality is where you find your modules, and this kind of auto completes, sure enough. So we've already enabled this module. It's the only non-core module that we've enabled at this stage. Oh, I guess I didn't need to save that. We're going to go back to the home page. And for the purpose of this demo, what we want to do, a lot of websites now sort of have these blocks on the front page. And the idea is, like, what if we wanted to create another block sort of like this underneath here, but we wanted a background color, a different text color, and we wanted to do some things without having to write CSS or to customize the theme. Well, the configurable block style menu helps us, and where we place our blocks is under structure, layouts. If you don't know about layouts, I recommend that you take some time to look for a Simplo video on layouts, which does not exist yet, but hopefully will by the time you see this. We'll describe more detail how the layouts all work, but for now we're going to work with the home page layout. This is, again, it's a custom layout just for the home page of this website. And if we hit manage blocks, we'll see we have different regions: the header region, the top region, the content region, the bottom region, and the footer. And we are going to put our block into this top region. And some regions will allow you to put blocks that stretch the full width of the page, and some won't. You need to have a hero region. And we know this is a hero region because it already has a hero block in it, and I know from previous experience. So I'm going to click Add a Block, and I'll show you the effect of this later. Custom. We're looking for a custom block. And we're just going to put some really boring text here. Boring demo text. There we go. And we're going to save this block. Every time we save changes to a block, we need to go to the bottom and save our layout. And in this case, we're going to need to go back home to the home page. Our boring demo text slid way over to the right here, and that's one problem. That shows that we are in a hero region. I'm going to take really quickly and show you what would happen if we go back to the home page layout and we were to take this block and drag it down here into the content region. I'm quite sure that's not a hero region. And when we save that and go to the home page, there you're going to see now our boring demo text does line up with the rest of the text. We don't want that, though, in a way. I mean, we do want that text to line up, but we don't want it in this region. And the reason we don't want it in this region is because we can't put a color background in this region. So I'm going to go back to Layouts, Home, and I'll show you what I mean by that by coming down to our custom block. I'm going to leave it here for a minute. We'll have to move it back. And we're going to touch the Configurable Block Style menu for the menu. I keep saying menu, it's module. If you hear me say menu again, ignore that. Under the style settings for the block, and this will pertain to all kinds of blocks, if you have the Configurable Block Style menu enabled module, the Configurable Block Style module, you will have this option. That's not normally available in Backdrop. This module makes it available. So once we click on that, we get a bunch of other options. And amongst the options we get are to change the colors. So we can actually click on this, say Custom Colors, and we can change our background color to something like a deep cayenne red, and change our text color. And you have to, when you're doing this, you have to select and make sure the color you're changing is highlighted, and then you can click on the color you want the text. Actually, I'll make this Mercury, which is just a really light gray, so that we can see that it actually has some color. Once I've got those selected, I can save this, and I can go back and save my layout, and go back to the home page. Boom. So we have a background color, but that background color isn't stretching the full width, and that's because we're not in a hero region that lets the block stretch out. But there's a couple of other things. If we go up into the hero region, the block will stretch over to the side, but our text will as well. So we're going to do something to prevent that, and I'm going to show you a little shortcut. We can hover over this block and click on the little gear icon to configure block, and that'll take us directly to the block, and it'll save us a little bit of time. If we click on the style section, one of the things we can do is add a content container, and the effect of the content container will be to keep the content in line with other content on the page, even if you're in a hero region where it's stretching to the side of the page. Actually, I'm going to uncheck that for now so we see what happens. And let's just go and do that. But also let's take and move this custom block up into this hero region and hit save. Okay, now we see that happened as I said it would. I'll go back here to the custom block. This time we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to go back into the style settings. Our configurable option is already selected. And we're going to add this content container. That's going to bring the text in, but we also want to add some space. The bottom and top of the block was immediately adjacent to the text, and we need some padding there. Padding is a term we use when styling websites, if you're not familiar with that. And we can click on this custom padding, and I'm just going to go with the defaults for now, which is 40, 30, 40 padding on the top, 30 padding on the right, 30 padding on the bottom, and 30 padding on the left. I hit update and save. And now, boom, our block has a couple of things. One thing it has is that it has that padding around the text. Also, the text is, now it's not clear to us if our text is centered because of the content container I gave it or because of the padding. But we are kind of sure. But the fact that the text stays even with the other text suggests that the content container is working as we expected. So the next thing I'm going to do is, let's say right now the height of this block is being affected by two things. One, it's being affected by the content. By the default, it's just the block is as big as the content, right? So it was very short. Then we added some extra padding, and the block got a little bit bigger to accommodate the padding. But there's another way we can make that block bigger. We can go back, use the contextual menu. One of the other settings we have available to us is, not custom colors, it's height. Under the height, we have a couple of options. Fixed height, we can set the block to be a specific height, and we can pick different styling units if you're familiar with those. Pixels is probably the simplest for most people. And I think that's all we're going to do. Let's set that to be 500. Look at the effect of that. And now, boom, our block is a minimum of 500. But the thing is, it's 500 even when the screen gets very small. And I don't like that. I want that to get smaller. So the next thing we're going to do is look at the, under our height, we also have a responsive height. And we can click on that. And now we have a couple of options. We have a relative height, and this uses a styling term that VW equals viewfinder width. And that basically means that this block in general is going to be 40% of the viewfinder width. So the width of your browser window. That's how high this is going to be. But we also want to set a maximum and a minimum because we don't want it to get too small. I think 500 is a little bit too big, so I'm going to set that to 400. And I'll 250. So 250 will be the minimum height. The maximum is 400, and in between it will use this as its guiding principle, 40% of the viewfinder width. I hit update and save. We notice that block is a little bit smaller than it was before because it was 500, now it's 400. We also notice that as we get the page smaller, it stays at 400 until it reaches a certain point, and now it actually starts to get smaller until it gets to 250, and then that's the minimum height. There we go. One of the things we're going to notice that's kind of difficult, you might run into this problem using the default theme and backdrop, is this space between your two blocks. We don't have an easy way for you to get rid of that right now in Basis, the default theme for backdrop. There is an issue to fix that, and I'm working on that. I hope to get that fixed soon. But in the meantime, we also have a contrib theme called Tatsu. And Tatsu is basically a lot like Basis, but we have fixed some problems like this in it. So you might want to test out the Tatsu theme. I think that's really all we're going to show you today. So thanks again for watching. Experiment a little bit more with Configurable Block Style module, and let us know, one, if you find any bugs, or two, things you think that would make its functionality better and more useful to you.